What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Daily Dose with Dylan Davis, and we are streaming to you guys live through the Painted Lines Network on their YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter accounts. Today, I'm joined by my big-headed co-host, as always, Mr. Matt McGinty. You can follow him on Twitter at Matt_McGinty. And back with us today, as he was in the passenger seat with me yesterday, is Mark Henry. You can follow him on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. He is the host of the Tough Cover podcast, which I believe, Mark, will be live after the Daily Dose here, wherever you guys are watching as well. So tune in for that, for all of Mark's picks on the board tonight. Guys, again, with baseball season going on, we're going to have a lot to unpack every day. A more negative note surrounding the team in the pinstripes. Just dropped the baseball on my lap. Don't mind me. The Phillies dropped both in a doubleheader to the New York Mets. They dropped the first one 4-3 in extra innings with Chase Anderson on the mound, and then they follow that up with a 4-0 shutout, lifeless loss with our ace Aaron Nola on the bump. And then we have a highly anticipated matchup tonight at the Wells Fargo Center. The Nets are in town to take on the 76ers. Both teams sit at 37-17 currently, tied for the first seat, number one seed in the Eastern Conference. But, however, it will not be as highly anticipated now, of course, because as we found out earlier today, the Nets are without Kevin Durant. As we knew, James Harden would be out. Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, Chiazza, Kyrie's going to play, but he's still a game time decision. I saw Tyler Johnson's even now. They are sitting everybody. They clearly don't care about the number one seed. They just think they're going to run through everybody come playoff time healthy. So we'll get into that matchup. And I guess that's where we'll start, boys. And then we'll transition into an ugly day for the Phillies yesterday, and then wrap it up with some Phillies Mets preview tonight as Zach Wheeler takes on David Peterson, where the Phillies have the advantage. But tonight, Gint, you talk to me first since you missed yesterday's show. What are you feeling like tonight going into the game? Confidence level? Are you disappointed that the Nets are decided to sit everyone out? Or as a Sixers fan, are you like, all right, let's go beat their ass and get a game up for the one seed?
Yeah, kind of both, right? You definitely wanted to see them play them almost at full strength. We knew Harden wasn't going to play regardless, before all this. But you definitely want to see a little bit of what they have. I don't think we've seen Kevin Durant this year once, right? I don't think
haven't, no.
I don't think Ben Simmons played Kevin Durant in 2 years. So that's something I definitely wanted to look forward to. But if they're going to act like – I can say this, though. I don't blame them for doing what they do. I wouldn't show Philadelphia a ton before the playoffs. But I also think they should want the one seed. So I don't it's kind of a tough decision for them. But it seems as they made it very easy, a decision on themselves.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think they think they're going to steamroll everyone, which – if I'm being honest, if I was in their locker room, I'd probably think the same thing. So
I'll let Mark take it from here because I know he's got a take that I agree with about the second round of the playoffs and why Brooklyn shouldn't think that way, but I won't steal his thunder. So go ahead, Mark, and tell everyone your thoughts on the Nets resting 95% of their roster tonight.
Yeah, this isn't a new take for me. I said it the first time I ever came on the Daily Dose way back, right after the James Harden trade. I always have said that the matchup-wise, I don't think Brooklyn is a good matchup for us. I don't think they're not a good matchup for most teams. But Milwaukee has the guys to match up with Brooklyn. Giannis matches up with KD really well. So does Middleton. You also have Jrue Holiday, one of the best defensive guards in the league, to throw at either Kyrie or Harden. And then I'll let Middleton to cover whichever one of those guys you're not covering with KD or Jrue. And then Dante DiVincenzo is a good defender. They just have a lot of depth on defense that can give these top three guys on the Nets a lot of problems that I don't know if the Sixers are as well equipped to go against the Nets. But I do think Joel Embiid is a matchup nightmare for the Bucks. So that's why I think that this East is so interesting, because I really think that the one seed is going to decide who goes to the NBA Finals. If that's the Sixers, that forces the Nets and the Bucks to play in the second round. In my opinion, the Bucks will win that series. It might shock the world, but I think the Bucks would beat the Nets in the series. But if the Nets somehow win tonight or somehow lose and play better than us the rest of the way and get the one seed, and we have to go face Milwaukee in the second round, I'm confident we can get by Milwaukee. But after the grind that series would be, having to then go against Brooklyn, who would probably be coming off fresh against Atlanta or a team like that in the second round, that is a scary proposition for me, for the Sixers to be a 2 seed. I think that my confidence level in the Sixers' chances to go to the finals really hinges on whether or not they can get that 1 seed. So I'm not disappointed at all to not see KD tonight. If they want to throw us a free win and a free game up on the standings with 19 games to go, I'm all for it. You guys control your way to the second round against Milwaukee, because that's something I don't want.
And to take the tiebreaker tonight, right? That would be the case if the Sixers win tonight. So it's very important. Again, did you have something to say before?
Yeah, it was a question I was going to throw at you guys. Because I think the fourth best, I think I'll most likely agree, the fourth best team is probably Miami right now. And like I look at what you just said, Mark, and you said that Joel Embiid is a matchup nightmare for Brooklyn. And then you said that Milwaukee has a lot of bodies to throw at Brooklyn. And it's like Miami kind of has an in-between of they don't have Joel Embiid, but they do have Bam, who is probably a top 3 center in the league right now. And they do have a lot of bodies to throw at those guys. And they're obviously not as good as Drew Holiday and Giannis, but I think Miami poses a lot of problems for Brooklyn as well. I think they actually pose a lot of problems for a lot of teams, which is what you saw last year, even though I won't get into like the bubble nonsense, but I was wondering your guys' thoughts on Miami and their chances in a series against the top 3 teams. Are they a step below the top 3, or are they in that mix kind of?
You can go first, Mark.
Yeah, I think they're a pretty sizable step below. For me personally, I think they're a pretty sizable step below that top 3. I think they are the 4th best team. I think they're a more legit team than Atlanta or Boston or Charlotte or the Knicks or anyone like that. But I do think that the gap between the Bucks and the Heat is pretty wide for me, and that means that I think they're the 3rd best team. So the gap for the Sixers and the Nets then to the Heat is pretty wide for me. I think that last year was really fluky. You're seeing with Oladipo that move has not panned out at all like they like. I know that they didn't give up much to get him, but you look at Olynyk, and he's really helping out Houston. Not that he matters for this year, but they lost a stretch piece there off the bench, and then Oladipo pretty much is a negative to their team so far, it seems. So I just don't think that Tyler Hero is going to be as good as he was in the playoffs last year, this year. Even Dragic before his injury, I thought was overachieving last year in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler and Bam are obviously great players, and I do agree that Miami is I guess the 3rd hardest matchup for the Sixers in the East. But I'm not afraid of anyone outside of the Nets, and even the Bucks to a lesser degree. But I think we match up well with the Bucks. I'm just not afraid of anyone outside the Nets and the Bucks at all.
For me, like Miami doesn't scare me personally. We had the trade deadline show, and with the Victor Oladipo thing, he's hurt now, isn't he?
I don't even know if he's hurt as much as he's playing bad. So let's figure out what's going on.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Yeah, so like that didn't affect it for me. So they don't scare me as a Sixers matchup. To be completely honest with you, but like they are interesting when you look at like Brooklyn. Like, okay, could they give Brooklyn a run? Now I know that sounds silly to say that they don't scare me for the Sixers, but they could give the Nets a fight. But I do agree with you again. Like I just think they pose. For like with the Nets defensively, I just think they pose a different look than the rest of the teams in the East, or for that matter in the league. With Bam, you know what you're going to get from Jimmy, Robinson, Hero, Dragic. They have bodies on the bench like Iguodala and Ariza who can come in and play. So I don't know really what the Nets could sweep Miami, or you could be shocked and see Miami go on a run and give them trouble matchup wise.
Yeah, just because, dude, I don't picture James Harden and Kyrie Irving being guys to run around with Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero and running off screens. And I did like when Miami made the move for Oladipo, even though I'm not a huge Oladipo guy. I just thought that's where he wanted to be. So maybe they could have got like the last stinge of him out,
right?
Even though he's really not that old, but it's coming quick.
The injuries have,
yeah.
But like I was saying that. In that kind of series, I'd almost rather Hero and Duncan Robinson, but then it's like you're giving up points on the other end. So that was just a question I had, because now I'm seeing these tweets. It's like, an insider came out and said, I'll just say it. Miami's the best team in the Eastern Conference. It's like, are you sure?
Didn't they just get smoked by Phoenix last night?
We played 72 games for you to decide in a 4-game span in April that they're the best team in the conference.
They just got smacked last night. I'm almost positive. So let me get to some comments before we move on and get to like this actual game here with the Nets and the Sixers. Abe, what is going on? They are running from the Turkish nightmare. I don't care. I just want to take the series so we can take the top seed. I'd rather play the Knicks in Atlanta than the Bucks than Brooklyn. I completely agree. However, we do have to take into account that this game only puts the Sixers up one game with 17 left to play. The next 17 are just as important for the Sixers than beating the Nets tonight. Winning the season series is obviously important for a tiebreaker, but the next 17 are important. Marky says the Nets are ducking the smoke. Just hope we don't sleep on Kyrie tonight. That is one of my points. Joel still going for 50 3/4, and I would let Matisse guard Kyrie. I didn't see this, but that's probably just because Jason Tatum hit a late clutch 3 and dropped like 32, and they beat Dame and all that good stuff. So
I do have something I want to say about Boston real quick. Since we're giving Miami credit.
Yeah.
I don't think Boston's scary in terms of this year to the Sixers, strictly because of just they have no, as Mark Zumoff said, they have no one in the New England area that can cover Joel Embiid. But besides that, I think that some Sixers fans I'm seeing on Twitter and Sixers Twitter being really like trolly of the Celtics fans, and it reminds me of Boston fans against us last year. All I'm saying is in the NBA, things can turn around pretty quickly, especially when you have two young guys like Tatum and Brown. I wouldn't be kicking the Celtics when they're down. I don't think that they're down forever. Like I think that they have a couple moves to make, and I think they'll probably be back right in that contenders area next year or the year after.
I saw your tweet, and you referenced them getting a big man. I mean, in my opinion, I don't know when Kemba's contract is up off the top of my head, but to me, a move to move him for anything decent that you can throw at Joel Embiid is huge.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of the move they made. I don't know salary cap wise if it did anything, them throwing Daniel Tice out the door for Mo Wagner, but dude, you're right, because Tatum and Brown are annoying for as long as you can remember now. At this point, they're going to be here for God knows how long, and it's just not the best to deal with every year.
So let's see. Well, we'd also wrong one. Well, we'd also in the season series, which makes it does, and I agree 100%. I'm just saying there is a decent chunk of the season left. There's only 17 games left where, let's say we beat the Nets tonight, we go up a game. Well, then I'm pretty sure we get the Clippers next game. We drop to the Clippers. The Nets come back with KD and Harden soon, and then they beat someone. Well, we're tied again, and there's 16 left to play. So that's what I mean there. I mean, we handled Boston at Boston. We could put them back down again if we have to. I'm going to the game tonight, and I'm so bummed most of the Nets are out. Have a ton of fun. I know Scotty he's around the city right now, but he will be there as well. So shout out to Scott. Speaking of Twitter, Jazz fans unhinged. Yeah. I'm not even gonna get into any of that because they are one of the most annoying fan bases in all of the big four sports. And
I'll get into it real quick.
Go ahead.
The guy Ben Dowsett, that scumbag, who's going on and on about how terrible of a person Ben Simmons is and how awful he is to interviewers and the media. I seem to remember last year during a worsening pandemic when Rudy Gobert went out of his way to touch every single microphone of the media members and also infected the other star player on his team with the coronavirus. So I'd say imagine being teammates with that guy. This guy's sending tweets out. Imagine being teammates with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, he was the worst teammate. He's terrible to the media. Yeah, Rudy Gobert's a real good guy, Ben Dowsett.
Utah in general, they're just a bunch of weirdos.
There is just no one likable on that team. Like, I don't like anyone on that roster.
Not at all.
Joe Ingles is like a ton. I hate Jordan Clarkson. I hate Donovan Mitchell. I hate Rudy Gobert. Shed some light here. Someone tell me someone I'd like.
I don't mind Derek Favors, I guess. I don't have a Derek Favors opinion. That's the only guy that came to my head.
But yeah, dude, they are delusional. I really hope they fall to the 2 seed. I don't know how far ahead they are of Phoenix.
Game and a half.
Probably 17, 18 to play with for all of them. I would love for Utah to fall to the 2 seed and get to play the guy we discussed yesterday in Luka. Not saying that Utah would definitely lose to Dallas, but that would just be a matchup I would love to see because whoever falls into that 8 seed, whether it's San Antonio or, if one of the play-in teams make it there, I don't see them being Utah.
I would never sit here and say I would want to play Steph Curry in a playoff series.
That's very true. That is very true. If Golden State made it.
Even though Golden State.
We discussed this yesterday. Again, we had a question about the play-in tournament and asked our thoughts on it. So damn stupid.
Dude, Golden State, their roster, whoever constructed that should be thrown in jail. Like, that was just like you can't. I'm not big on certain players have to be in certain spots to succeed, but dude, you can't just get people that might average 20 points a game one season and just plug them in and think it's all going to work. The whole Kelly Oubre, Andrew Wiggins experience.
Not it. It's definitely not it. I feel
Yeah.
terrible for Steph, but to the point of the play-in tournament, okay, let's say Golden State's the 10 seed, right? And they finish the season 4, 5, 6 games under 500. Now the 7 seed has to play not that they're underachieving because Steph's carrying them with that lifeless roster, like you said, but now you got to play Steph Curry in a play-in tournament.
I agree. I totally agree.
That is so asinine. But let's get back to business for the Sixers-Nets matchup, and try to just bring out some keys to the game to light for people and break it down as best we can because, like we said, it's very difficult to do when they're playing their B team or some of their C team, to be honest with you. So I'll throw these two out at you guys, and then you can bounce it back and forth and whatever ideas you guys have for this game tonight. But jump on them early. We're all human beings, right? So you put the money and the athlete and the star point of view aside, but if you're Ben Simmons, if you're Joel Embiid, and Ben had some comments to make about Brooklyn with one ball and playing some defense yesterday, so all that's building up, and you're getting ready to play this beast of the East that everyone wants to see, and they're not playing. Don't get down. Don't play down to them. Feed them beat early. Get Simmons involved early. Bury them. Step on their throats early, and put them out of their misery early. Don't let them hang around into the second half and late in the third quarter. B, how do you do that? Kyrie Irving. I'm assuming he's going to play. The Sixers, don't get me wrong, fully healthy, should beat the Kyrie Irving-led Brooklyn Nets without everybody else that they're missing. However, we've seen Kyrie have some pretty damn impressive performances this year, especially if he gets hot from 3. So if Kyrie plays, don't let him be efficient tonight. That's my takeaway. Kyrie can go get 35, 38, 40, but don't let it be efficient, right? Because if it's efficient 35 to 40, that means there's other possessions and other shots now for Joe Harris and his teammates to also drop big numbers on you. If you make Kyrie work for every basket, if he scores 35 on 26, 27 shots, or if not more, it's not that impressive to me. But if he scores an efficient 35 points and Joe Harris can get involved with 17 to 20 points and whoever else, that's something I don't want to see. So make Kyrie work. Don't let him be efficient, and step on their damn throats early and whoop this team's ass, because I truly believe, look, it is smart, like you said, Gint, that they're on a back-to-back, whatever. I don't care. They in my mind, they just think they're going to steamroll through the East fully healthy. They don't care about home court advantage, blah, blah. Whoop their ass, win the season series, take control of the 1 seed, and don't look back for the last 16 games. Those are 2 of my keys for tonight. Go ahead, Gint or Mark, whoever wants to take it from there. Mark?
Oh, you got okay. So something I'm looking out for tonight in terms of, obviously, everyone's saying we're not going to see the things that we need to see in terms of matchup-wise for the playoffs. A guy that a lot of people don't know about for the Brooklyn Nets, who's been pretty good for them as of late, or since the Harden trade, I'd say, is Nick Claxton. He's a big. I think they took him in the second round. He will play tonight. I'm curious. He's really skinny. He's really lanky, long. Not someone who, like, that body type doesn't usually fare that well against Joel Embiid. So I'm curious to see how Claxton matches up with Embiid. If Claxton gives Embiid problems, that could present a problem in the playoffs, because that means that Claxton's just another playable big for the Nets to throw at Joe. But I think more than likely Joel will just pick up his skinny ass and dunk him through the rim. But I think Claxton's a solid player, really jumpy, really long. But it's going to be interesting to see the kind of looks that they throw at Joe, because I don't think Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge are going to be covering Joe much in the playoffs anyway. So I am curious to see what they do against Joel Embiid.
Now, I forget real quick. Did I know Harden played the last time we played the Nets? Was he the only one, or did Kyrie play as well? I know they didn't have KD in either.
I think it was just Harden. I think it was just Harden
that one. I think so too. But all right, go ahead, Gint.
No, yeah. What I was going to say was Mark hit on the nose for what I was going to bring up too, and we were talking about what we were going to do matchup wise, but I think this is a test for Brooklyn tonight, saying, is Nick Claxton the guy that – because, I mean, the way I think Brooklyn's looking at everything is Philadelphia, like Joel Embiid literally has to beat those three guys himself. Is what I assume Brooklyn's gonna say. Yeah, okay, you're gonna score. You might score 40, 45 points, 42 points, whatever. But our three guys are gonna combine for 70 something, and so you just need some type of body to throw at him. And I think Mark hit on the nose with Nick Claxton. Nick Claxton was, I think, the first pick in the second round out of Georgia. He was a guy that I think me and Mark also brought up on his podcast. So I think with him, it's like Mark's right. I think Joel can dunk on him and end his career, but it's like you don't want to give him any type of I don't want to say momentum, but like confidence. In a series against Joel Embiid, because they're looking for answers right now. Because Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge, we talked about that. I thought they would help him as a team, not as a Philadelphia matchup, and it still holds true. They don't help him against us. Now this kid could, because they're not going to go to DeAndre Jordan. I think they're completely moved on from the fact that DeAndre Jordan trying to get that chance because he'd foul out in 35 seconds.
And Jeff Green can't do it.
Yeah, Jeff Green can't do it. Kevin Durant can't do it. So you have to just make a statement tonight if you're Joel Embiid and just, like Mark said, put him through the hoop. Yeah. I'm honestly surprised they're playing him.
Look at Brooklyn's bench. And say, this is what you came up with.
Exactly.
This is the guy. To go off your point now, this isn't just for tonight's game. This is for a series more or less because of the two of the three now playing. But when you brought up, Brooklyn's ideology or their thought process of Joel can score 40 or 45, our guys are going to score 70 plus. That, to me, is why Tobias Harris of 95% of the season is so critical in and to show up in the postseason. Because then if Tobias averages 20 to 22 in a series, well, now your two, not saying that Joe's going to average 40 to 45, but you get my point. Now your two are not that far off of their three. And then if you can play defense and you know what I mean? So that's why Tobias Harris is a huge X factor. Ben's going to be as well, but that's more or less facilitating, not turning the ball over, defending Brooklyn and Kevin Durant or James Harden than it is Tobias Harris scoring 20 plus. That's just a quick point there. Guys, look, we're 23 minutes in. Is there anything else you want to look at for tonight's game before we get into predictions? Anthony Tolliver is set to make his debut for the Sixers. Chrome Dome. I'm excited, man. I'm pumped up. You know what? You know why that is?
You think he's gonna play?
He's on a 10-day 10-game contract, a 10-day contract.
So was Jello Ball. He didn't touch the floor.
Jello Ball's not an NBA player.
Whoa. I do not fall for the Jello Ball slander.
Whoa, you're going to get it on this show. No, he's awful.
Before we bring up that Anthony Tolliver guy, something I'm really interested to see, because Ben's not going to guard Kyrie in a playoff series against Brooklyn. So, I mean, I don't see why we throw him at Kyrie tonight. So I'm interested to see how Danny Green holds his own, because, like, you're going to have to play these guys one-on-one. And
I think this is a chess match, bro. I really do. I agree with you. Like, you mentioned the Claxton thing with Embiid. I agree there. Like, they don't want to show us their hand and they want to sit all these guys out. I'm not throwing Ben on Kyrie and letting you, let's say Kyrie exposes Ben a little bit tonight. That's not happening tonight. So that I agree.
Well, I was actually going to say the opposite. I was going to say, do you throw Ben on Kyrie tonight? Because most likely, I assume they're going to throw Ben on Harden in a series.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
The ball the most. Because I think Danny Green would probably draw these.
Ben might be on KD.
That's also
So I get what you're saying. So don't show the Brooklyn and Kyrie who his assignment's going to be come series wise.
You just throw Ben at time. And right. I mean, he is number one in the scouting report tonight, and Ben has always drawn.
I agree. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of it from that point of view.
But yeah,
Mark, what would you do, Mark? Where are you putting Ben tonight?
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that either. Matt makes a good point, though. I think that Kyrie's the last guy Ben would guard in a series, probably, in terms of Kyrie, Harden, or KD. So I wouldn't mind seeing that look tonight. And at least if it's dominant, like it has been against so many of the league's best players, then I think that that's something that at least we have in our back pocket. And if it's bad, then we just don't have him guard Kyrie, because you have him guard Harden or KD. So I think either way, I'm just not that worried about tonight's game, which might sound dumb because yesterday I thought we were going to sweep a doubleheader, but we'll get to that. But I'm really not that worried about tonight's game. I'm really just looking for the small types of matchups and the small things that can matter in the playoffs. Because I know everyone's disappointed that we're not seeing the big matchup. I'm not. I just want to see a win. But I will see the small, Claxton versus Embiid, Ben versus Kyrie, Joe Harris versus our perimeter defense, whatever that may be. I think there will be a couple.
Let me ask you guys this then before we get to predictions, because I think we're all going to say win. And if we said anything else but win, people would look at us like we have 19 eyeballs on our head. How important is it to you for tonight to be a comfortable win, a statement win? Because think about the Milwaukee overtime game at home without Embiid, and we're sitting here laughing at Milwaukee because it took them overtime and to come back from a blowout to beat us when we didn't have the MVP of the league. Well, they don't have XYZ, WAT guys playing tonight. How important is it for it not to come down to the wire tonight against Brooklyn?
Mark, you can take it first. I need to think of my answer.
I think, you want to have that matchup we had with the Mavs the other night that we didn't even have that many takeaways from because we just controlled it from second quarter on or almost start to finish. And that's the goal. That's the goal of every game. You get yourself some load management in the fourth quarter. You get yourself some rest. You really put it on them. You let Maxey get out there and play a little at the end of the game. You let Paul Reed, you let the young guys get out there and play at the end of the game. And I think that's always a good thing. You see Ben and Joel freaking out on the sideline for a dunk with 3 minutes left. I think that's good for chemistry. I know that sounds stupid, but it would be a really big win tonight just in terms of putting them away early and staying up and kind of controlling the game.
Right. So reversely, does it raise questions if they don't do that and it comes down to the wire? Or tomorrow, are we on this show discussing like, damn, man, we have some issues?
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. Realistically, one game, I know it sounds stupid and it's just like whatever. We've seen like how many ever games so far this year, 60 almost, 50, 54, 53. So one game isn't going to completely change my outlook on the Sixers season. But if they do come out and lose and look crappy or win barely, it will definitely raise some questions, and that the rest of the city will overreact. So I do think that there will be part of me that's like, I really wish we would have kind of controlled that game more, but a win's a win's a win. There's no room in the win-loss section for comments. So as long as we get the win and we get up on Brooklyn tonight, I'll be happy.
All right, good. Gint, Professor Gint, you got that answer yet?
No, yeah, because I agree a win is very important, and that's the end goal, obviously, and you do want to say, yo, you did this, so yeah, here's a 20-point L. But if they're going to try new things, like this Anthony Tolliver character, if they're going to try, if they're
we didn't even get to him.
Maybe, like we said, throw looks that they're not going to throw, so things might look a little awkward. Not show Brooklyn a ton of the stuff they do, and they end up only winning by 8 points. But it was a comfortable 14 to 11.
Yeah.
That's different. That's different than we went down 17 in the third quarter and Joel had to play 42 minutes and score 56 points for us to win. That's a little different, but I don't think it's totally important to blow them out, but I definitely would like to, like you said, you just sat player X, Y, Z, R, Q, T, so here's 20 points in an L.
Right. Because, think about how we reacted after the Milwaukee loss in overtime. We were kind of clowning Milwaukee, not clowning, but we were like, oh, I feel great after that. Because if you're looking at it from a Brooklyn and their fan base and their team perspective, if they do that to us without all of them, half the alphabet, they're going to be like, oh, okay, Joel, real cute.
You know what I saw the other day? I don't know where I saw it. Someone either might text and message someone said that they have a buddy from might have been from here or from somewhere else because we were talking about overreaction in the city, that he said his buddy doesn't follow basketball at all.
Yeah.
He thought that the Sixers sucked because of how much people complained.
Yeah.
To me, that was so funny, man.
It was. And Dives, congratulations if he does to Furk. A big congratulations to Furkan Korkmaz and his fan base if he does, because he did it against the Nets C team. Look, man, I'm sorry. He's showing strides on defense. I acknowledge it. If he can continue to show it, great. I hope he does so he can be serviceable in the playoffs. He's had 5 good games against me. If he does it against the Miamis of the world, Milwaukee's, Brooklyn when they're healthy, if he can get that shot off against them, he's not going to score 20 off the bench many nights, if any at all. But if he can average 10 to 13 points off the bench on efficient shooting from three, I'm all aboard the Furk train. But please, for the love of God, now we're literally talking about, oh, Furkan's playable in the playoffs. It's been 5 games, dude. It's been 5. I'm not even talking about you, Mark, because we discussed it yesterday. I'm saying, like, everybody is talking about it now. Like, dude, it's been 5 damn games. Have we or have we not seen hot streaks from Furkan Korkmaz in the past?
We have, story, bro. Four good games, 7 bad games, 3 good games.
If I said this to you earlier, again, there's how many games are there left? 18. If he plays at that level or close to this level, at least shooting well from 3 and playing decent defense for half of the last 18 games, 10 of the last 18, I'm all aboard. He can play in the postseason. He can be in the rotation. But these 4 or 5 games on the road trip don't mean jack shit to me.
All right,
okay, Anthony. Okay, go ahead before we get in there. Damn it, Gint.
That's kind of right where I was going with it.
I have an Anthony Tolliver question for Gint after he's done, and it involves Furkan too. But
let me ask you this truthfully. All year, Mike Scott has not been good. There's hardly been a couple bright spots, yet he still plays. So, what makes you guys think we signed a 10-day contract guy, Anthony Tolliver? He's going to be the one to boot this guy out of the lineup?
He still plays because there's been nothing else. We know this.
But you didn't go get something. Anthony, how long has Anthony?
He's shooting. He's a career like 38% shooter from 3 and shot 41% from 3 last year.
I don't know the answer to this. How long was Anthony Tolliver available?
Last year and this year.
Yeah, he wasn't even on a team.
Oh, he wasn't on a team this year?
Oh yeah. No, he wasn't on a team. Or no, he was on a team. He was on a team last year. My bad. He was on.
Mike Scott. Well, number 1 will be checking in tonight with the Braids.
Well, to be fair, Scott's only on a team because he was good 3 years ago too.
Yeah. He made a game-winning shot in a playoff game.
Yeah, he happened to get a 2 or 3 year contract in the last 2 trade deadlines.
All right, get this Anthony Tolliver question in before we move on.
My whole thing with Matt about Anthony Tolliver, and it's a bigger point, and of course Dwight Howard is going to be brought into it, but I just don't know how you can watch Furkan and be like, this guy is the problem more so than Mike Scott and Dwight Howard.
Oh, he's no.
Yeah, so
I don't think that.
So okay, then that's fine. So just put that aside. Furkan, whatever.
I just think he's one of the 3 problems.
I don't even think that they're in the same league as problems. But for me with Mike Scott and Dwight Howard, you're just not getting anything. Like all that you're getting is being negated by the massive negatives that those players bring. With Mike Scott, there's not massive negatives. There's just no positives. With Dwight Howard, there's obviously positives. He's obviously a good rebounder. He's obviously a good shot blocker when he's not fouling and whatever. But the negatives outweigh it so much. And for someone who's as and by the way, this is not. I'm wearing him on my jersey currently. This is not me coming at him. I'm a full Ben Simmons defender. I don't think that right now is the correct time to be arguing about Ben Simmons or anything. But Matt has on the show, kind of not made excuses, but, excused Ben Simmons from what other people were complaining him for, when it could have just been as easy for Matt as looking at the Ben Dwight lineups and saying, if you take these out, Ben's been awesome. And that's really as simple as it is. And I remember a couple games ago when it was 5 games or 10 games since the All-Star break, 5 with Tony Bradley, 5 without. And this isn't a Tony Bradley thing. It's just an anyone but Dwight Howard thing, where in terms of Ben Simmons is pretty good with everyone but Dwight Howard. So if Anthony Tolliver is a complete stiff, Anthony Tolliver could be a complete stiff, but if he can go out there and stand at the 3-point line and that opens up space for Ben Simmons and maybe he hits 34% from 3 and shoots 2 per 36, that's all I'm asking for. And whether that be for him subbing it for Mike Scott's minutes or whether that be him subbing in for Dwight Howard's minutes, I just think there's such a low bar to clear for Anthony Tolliver to be playable on this team. So that's why I'm optimistic about it. He's a professional basketball player.
I can't wait for him to drop 3 threes tonight. Roof blow off the building.
So to answer to kind of rebuttal, I know that Dwight, I obviously know everything you said. We use it as a joke a lot, but it was after that Memphis game was when I feel like he was just being brought up a ton, and we had gotten crushed. Like, there was like 50 things wrong with the team that night, and I feel like the only thing I was reading was Dwight Howard, and I was like, bro, like, it's the backup center. And my thing with it is, like, yeah, they went out and got a guy that's bigger that can stretch the floor in Anthony Tolliver, but this team didn't make that an absolute. Like, Bielitsa was out there. He was there for the taking. I feel like there could have been a move made to get him. They could have went out and got something that provoked Dwight Howard playing. So I think they see something, whether it's, okay, here's the lineups that are struggling. Maybe if we take, because X and Y being Ben, maybe Ben and Dwight, maybe Z's the problem and they pull Z. Because whether we like it or not, Dwight's going to play in the playoffs. He's going to play 8 minutes a game probably, maybe a little bit more, honestly. So, like, there's nothing we can really revoke about it. And
I don't know if that's the case.
I think it is.
We're gonna see. I mean, Anthony Tolliver's going to get minutes at some point.
You think Tolliver could take Dwight's minutes to the playoffs?
Yeah, 100% for a 4 or 5 minute stretch. So that Ben Simmons can play with. No, Mike. Do I think Mike Scott could take Dwight's minutes?
Yeah. Do you think if let's say we play game 1 against whoever in New York and Dwight Howard's minutes were absolutely dreadful, and I mean not Mike Scott, Dwight Howard's minutes were absolutely dreadful. And you don't see them. You could see them maybe going Anthony Tolliver, but they wouldn't go Mike Scott.
At the 5, yeah. I don't think that there's any reason that Mike Scott's more playable at the 5 than Anthony Tolliver is. In fact, I think Anthony Tolliver's a little bit better of a shot blocker. I have to look that up, but
yeah.
I got a video for you.
Yeah.
I got video proof of the Greek Freak. I got video proof of the Greek Freak getting stuffed at the rim by Anthony Tolliver. That's all I needed to see to know that the Braids and Mike Scott don't need to touch the floor anymore, okay? I agree with Mark. The Anthony Tolliver greater than Mike Scott. The Dwight Howard thing, I get all that. I just don't know if I take it that far. I do agree that I just think with Doc and the way he sticks to his guns, there's no way in hell I see with 17 games left that Dwight Howard gets benched for Anthony Tolliver. That's just the way I look at it. I think Mike Scott's the guy out.
I'm not saying that Dwight is definitely going to get benched or that Tolliver is not. Like, Tolliver could come out and be terrible. Like, yeah. I'm not saying I'm that confident that he's going to be good. I'm just saying that I think there's a really low bar for him to reach. Yeah, can retire Tolliver's jersey now. It's like Corey Brewer a couple years ago.
Someone said if the Sixers come out with those ugly ass Liberty Bell jerseys, they're turning it off tonight.
Mark, was Tolliver your number one choice of the players that were left?
No. I'd have to go back in and remember. I really wanted Dedmon.
Yeah, Miami gets everyone. They have 50 players on their roster. You weren't a Jabari Parker guy?
No, to me, because the problem is obviously I'm more of a I wanted a 5 than a 4 kind of. But
when Scotty said, at least Anthony Tolliver can shoot a little bit. He said Jabari Parker's good at nothing.
Yeah, and he's got no knees. He's got paper for knees right now.
Number 2 draft pick in 26. No, what year was 2014?
I always get that so messed up the years in the process.
Because Ben's 16. Ben's 16 as well as 14. All right, boys. 38 and a half minutes in. Let's get our predictions for tonight's show. I think we all know where we're going. You guys can comment your stat lines and predictions. Is it even necessary to give stars of the game? I don't think it is. I'll lead us off. I'm going Sixers W over Brooklyn, 1-game lead in the Eastern Conference. And I will say the Sixers win by 9, but I think I'm going to go with what Ginn said. It's a double-digit 13 to 15-point lead a majority of the third quarter. They cut it back a little bit towards the end of the game. Bench is in. That's where I'm leaning.
Yeah, I agree. I'm right around the same point total. I'm going to go like a little bit more, go like 11, but I do think they're going to win. And I, like Mark said, I do cover up a lot of his like flaws because I mean we all know he has flaws, but I really do, and I've said it a couple games, but I really do think Ben gets like, if he has to play because they do keep it in range, he gets like 20 tonight.
Because that's a great point because people have acknowledged, and I think we've kind of talked a little bit about it, where Ben almost seems like he needs a little extra juice to get pumped up for something. Mm-hmm. He made some interesting comments yesterday. Now, he was asked about them. He didn't just come out and let the statements fly, but he said what was on his mind. He said what he felt. And even though those guys, the stars, won't be playing, I'm guessing will be on the bench tonight watching courtside. Make a statement, 2-5. Make a statement. That's all I'm going to say. And it doesn't need to be that. I know you just gave out 20, and we just talked about Monday how people crave that 20-point number, and it doesn't need to be that. But make a statement tonight. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I think that the Sixers win 125, 105. Like, I think they're going to win by 20 or 15, something like that. But, yeah, I don't have too much more in terms of, like, stars of the game or anything like that. I just think we should handle the game like we did with Dallas. Hopefully, no worries. Hopefully we can focus on the Phillies game, which I think that's what we're going to get to trying to talk about here at the end of the show.
Yeah, we got about 20 or so minutes left before Mark has to go live on the Tough Cover podcast. So if you guys are watching now at 5 o'clock or a little after, Mark will be live here on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, wherever you're watching, giving his best bets and plays for tonight. Let's get into the Phillies and Mets matchup for tonight, as well as breaking down the doubleheader a little bit. You guys can continue to comment with us if you want to. So with that being said, the Phillies dropped both yesterday in New York to the Mets. The first one, they lost 4-3 in extra innings. The second one, the bats are completely silenced in a 4-0 shutout loss. They fall to 6-5 on the year. Look, man, the Phillies road and doubleheader woes continue early in this season. Since 2018, the Phillies road record is 77-118. And since beginning of 2020, last year with the weird 60-game season and the first doubleheader this year, the Phillies doubleheader record is 5-13 since 2020, and they are 29-24 in all other games, meaning just once a day regular games. So they're struggling on the road. They're struggling on doubleheaders. Yesterday was a combination of the two. Let's start with the issues we saw yesterday. I think it's very clear Mark and I are going to be negative. Now, I do want to address this really quickly from the fans' point of view, right? Guys, if this I'm about to complain. You're about to listen to me bitch and moan, right, about yesterday's performance. That does not mean I don't believe the Phillies are a playoff team anymore or that they suck. Okay, there's too much. I'm hearing so much of it on the radio and social media, because if we're going to do this all year, guys, I need to be heavily medicated or drink heavily during these shows, okay? 5-1, we're going to the World Series. We're dominant. You see this bullpen? Bryce Harper didn't even hit a home run yet. 6-5, we suck. We can't make the playoffs. Stop it. Find a middle ground somewhere. We can complain. We can cheer week to week, but let's keep a level head, please, for my sanity, okay? With that being said, let's bitch and moan, Mark and Gint, because yesterday in the 4-3 loss, it went to extra innings in the first doubleheader, which is only the 8th inning. Hector Neris comes in. Phillies led 3-2 going into the bottom of the 8th. First bad outing for Hector Neris. First bad performance by this bullpen, blowing a lead. Phillies lose 4-3. Get it. Hector did not have his best stuff. He did not look good yesterday on the mound at all. Don't get me wrong. If that's where you want to point the finger to as to why the Phillies lost, man, we're going to have a long disagreement. Their bats, not just as a whole yesterday, their bats started terribly. They struck out almost 10 times in that first game against New York. The bats were absolutely silenced. They left base runner after base runner on the base paths inning after inning yesterday. The 4th inning, first and second, 1 out, no runs. 5th inning, first and second, 1 out. They got 1 run to make it 2-2. 6th or 7th, I want to believe it was the 7th, first and second, no outs. They don't score a run. Top of the 8th, they get the runner in from second. They get second and third, 2 outs, don't extend their lead at all. And then the Mets come up with that runner starting on second in the bottom of the 8th, and that's how it ends. If you want to blame Hector Neris, look, he didn't look good, and he deserves some blame. That's not why the Phillies lost that ballgame. The Phillies lost the ballgame because their bats were atrocious, leaving runners on in scoring position 5 of the 8 innings, okay? And then the other really, really disappointing thing that continues to rear its ugly head is the center field position. And the guy that got the start in game 1, Mr. Roman Quinn. Now, let's discuss that steal real quick, gentlemen. Everyone's complaining about the steal, right? The decision. I get it. 2 outs. You never want to make the last out at third base. Reese is up. He's got a 1-0 count. Harper's on deck. Why would you steal? Why would you double steal? I'm with you, but he stole the bag. He had it. That's not where my beef lies. You know where my beef lies, Ken? This idiot starts to crawl off the damn base. And I apologize for how loud I'm being, but my goodness, what are you doing? Guys, if you don't see this in the grass in left field, you don't leave the bag. This moron, I'm sorry, he's a moron, starts crawling to get up and run off of third base, gets tagged out, final out at third base. Phillies don't score a damn run with Rhys Hoskins with a 1-0 count and Bryce Harper on deck. Oh, my dear God. So that's my recap of game one, guys. And Chase Anderson, he didn't pitch terribly. He gave up a bomb to Dominic Smith in the first inning, but outside of that, he was pretty solid.
He was.
Mark or Gint, you guys can take it from there. Just talking about game one, what you saw. If you agree, disagree, you want to, destroy Roman Quinn a little bit, destroy this Hector Neris. Choice is yours, guys.
I'll be quick, so I'll go first, Mark. Yeah, you covered it a ton on leaving runners on the base paths, which can happen, especially in a shorter game in a doubleheader. And then, dude, I feel like the cardinal rule of baseball is you can't make the first or last out at that third base, let alone with your probably two best hitters in the lineup coming up.
You'd be correct there.
That was just like you learned that at Mark's dad was one of the baseball coaches when we grew up playing Little League. Like, he taught us that. His uncle was my coach too. Like, we know that. Like, what are you doing, Roman? So I'm not gonna sit here and slander Roman Quinn for too long because I know you'll take care of that. I know Mark will take care of that. So that's just my take on it.
Idiot. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, he's not a baseball player. He's not a Major League Baseball player. He's not a baseball player at any level. I mean, he just doesn't understand the basic fundamentals of base running. And I think base running is just the most baseball IQ thing there is out there. You can talk about the field. You can talk about everything. The guy doesn't know how to run the bases because he's so surprised that he got on base. He's just an absolute train wreck. Nicky Moniak, thank God we brought him up today. That's the biggest news of the day. He wasn't able to play
except
today,
we get
obviously.
to see Roman Quinn play today again.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun, but I guess in terms of yesterday, I have a glass half full and a glass half empty kind of takeaway a little bit. And I think we're focusing on game one right now, which is good because literally I fell asleep during game two. The bats put me to sleep during game two on my couch. So I really only know more about game one as I do game two, and that there's no way around it. That's a painful loss. I know that it's game 11, it's game 12, whatever, or game 10, whatever it was. That's a painful loss. They had so many chances to win that game. And even if you just focus on that last inning, the extra inning that we did score a run in, you look at Rhys Hoskins working it to a 3-2 count and then uncharacteristically swinging the ball at his head.
The pitch before on a full count that he fouled off was also ball four.
Yeah.
It was away.
And he doesn't do that. That's not like Rhys's bag. Like, he's a very smart hitter. He's only swinging at the pitches that he knows he can put in play. So that's why I was shocked to see that so uncharacteristic. And then Alec Bohm, who's been like the best player in the majors with runners in scoring position, he completely shits the bed and infield flies it. It's just like that. Those are two things that are not, statistically, are not going to happen that often. And then you look at Didi. Obviously, he puts the ball in play. And I just want to say something about Didi. This is the kind of the glass half full thing. He's had a hit in every single game so far this season. So Didi Gregorius has been everything that we could have hoped that he'd be. Even yesterday in two disappointing losses, I thought he'd put one out of the park yesterday. That was my prediction on the show. He still went 3 for 6, I think. So pretty awesome a day overall for Didi. And then what happens today? He's out of the lineup. I get that he needs a day off. He hasn't had one yet. But it sucks that the only guy who felt like they were on the ball yesterday hitting was Didi Gregorius. Now he's out of the lineup today. I was really hoping to see the bats kind of pick up yesterday. And the bats weren't dead the whole day yesterday for game one. Like you said, we left so many people on base. I'm just hoping that the situational hitting's better today. But you don't feel great about it with Roman Quinn in the lineup and without Didi Gregorius in the lineup. But we will get to, I'm sure, like Dylan Peterson and what kind of the stuff against the Phillies for today. So I'm not feeling terrible about today. But if you lose today, I'm going to start being pessimistic. Like, I'm going to start bringing up some concerns. And the one concern I did want to bring up, especially from game one, Andrew McCutchen in the leadoff hole, struck out 3 times. I think he went 0 for 4. He has not looked good at all at any point this season in the field or at the plate. He has just not been good at all. And with the age that he's at, you have to kind of worry about that. I was curious to see where you guys were at on McCutchen.
He's at 156, right?
Yeah, something like that.
That pretty much says it right there, huh?
Yeah. I thought when he hit that tie game, that home run to tie it up in Atlanta in the second game in Atlanta was gonna boost him, but it didn't. So I agree with you there, Mark. And then let's get into game 2. So the bats weren't good enough in game 1, but Chase Anderson in the bullpen was up until Neris's blown save, which everyone seems to be crying about, and nothing about the bats after that game. Game 2, Mark, I know you said you fell asleep, so I'll just make this bluntly for you. Aaron Nola was rolling until the 4th inning, and he just lost it, man. I don't know. His curveball wasn't dropping. It was just kind of hanging up there. A couple of them got put into the gap. I will say one thing I want to discuss about these umpires. I know the Phillies just got a huge call against the Atlanta Braves to win a game the other night. These umpires are terrible. Joe West in the first game was awful. The ump behind home plate in the second game was just as bad. And then yesterday, to start off Nola's bad inning, I don't know if you were already knocked out from at this point, Mark, but there was one out in the 4th. Jeff McNeil hits an infield ground ball. Didi plays it, fires the first. Very close call. And I get it. They called him safe, so it wasn't that inconclusive. If they called him out, it probably would have stuck as an out. They got him by that much. And McCarthy and all, I know they're the Phillies announcers, but they're even saying it. And it's like, you could see room. His foot was still angled up coming down to the base as the ball was in Reese's glove. That started everything, right? And then Adam Hazley speaking of center field, misjudges and misplays a fly ball in the center field that he could have, if he played it correctly, caught for out number 2, runner on first. He misjudges it. Ball drops a foot in front of him. First and second, and then it kind of erupted from there. Nola didn't have his best stuff. They brought in Spencer Howard later in the game. He was pumping 97, 98 at first. He fell off the wagon. That kid just doesn't look right yet. I hope he gets it right. And then the main story again, doesn't matter if Aaron Nola fell apart. Didn't matter if the Nets just scored one run and he was lights out. The bats laid a goose egg. I'll tell you what, last week, and look, because I'm not sitting here, when I say don't be so annoying and pessimistic as fans, I mean, like, don't sit here and say we're absolutely terrible. We're not a playoff team after a 1-4 stretch. But you can take it game by game and place your concerns. And my concerns with week 1, we're sitting here talking about the energy with this ball club, how they're having fun, how they're playing for each other, all this stuff. Yesterday's doubleheader, man, it was almost like they didn't have it in the batter's box. And that was it. Like, I can't wait for today to be over. Let's get them tomorrow. Like, that can't be the mindset in 2 close games. And that they were lifeless. Too many swings and misses. They struck out 19,000 times. It seemed like it was a really bad performance yesterday on all sides of the ball for the Phillies. And I guess just to wrap it up, on to the next one, right? They sit at 6-5. They're currently in second place in the NL East, but that's only because of win percentage behind the Mets at 4-3. They have a chance. Look, as much as it sucks, they have a chance to get to 7-5 tonight, reclaim first place for the time being. And when it's all said and done, they will be 4-2 against the Braves and 3-3 against the Mets to start the season, as I believe tomorrow's game will be rained out. I know it's not definite yet, but I think the game 4 will be rained out and the Phillies will have an off day coming back home. So today's important, guys. So I don't know if you have anything you want to touch on from game 2 yesterday off of what I said before we get into tonight. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, just one thing about instant replay real quick. Just because you brought up instant replay. Would you guys think, like, if you're an ump or if you're a referee or an official, whatever it be, football, basketball, baseball, I hate the whole, if it's inconclusive, you just relegate back to the call on field. And I get it. I understand, because that's the only real decision that there is to be made right there. But would you rather the ump or the official, like, just there should be a signal, like, I'm not sure, like, we need to go to the review, so that you're not, like, blatantly, like, deterring what the actual call should be. I almost think, like, if the ump's not sure, just be like, I don't know, review, and then you go and there's not a definitive call to fall back on. I think that they would actually hate that, because then there's less of an excuse for bad calls and stuff like that. But I just get really frustrated sometimes when it's like, it's pretty clear, but we're not going to change it because of the bad call you initially made. It's just, that's my thought.
Go ahead, Gan.
And that's a really interesting point, because what's tough about it is you only get a certain X amount of challenges in certain sports. So you have to make a call in case, what if they don't challenge you? You know what I mean? So that would be something you have to decide before the season. But I do really like that decision. Like in the end, like if you guys remember a couple years ago, or I mean, it happens all the time, but a couple years ago in the NCAA tournament with Kyle Guy, like they went to like microscopic like review to find out where this was, and that overturned a call. But like he shouldn't have had to make a call. It should have been immediately like I have no clue, and it's human error. Like it's gonna happen. A ref's not gonna see everything. An ump's not gonna see everything. Now stuff that's blatantly in front of you. If you're like no review, like then you're just not going to your job, and you have to be dismissed.
Like Joe West strike zone. That shit is pitiful, man. It really is.
Well, this is totally off topic, and we don't have a ton of time left, but like the square's there, and we're in this technology sport.
You want the robot home plate?
I don't want it. I'm asking if you guys want it.
So look, I know
I do.
Like I guess, however, part of sports for a century now is human error in all 4, 5, 6, however many sports you want. So I don't know. It's really tough. If there was a sport and a part of a sport to do that, I think a home plate ump strike zone robot would be the key. But guys, here's the issue: like technology fails too.
Well, are you saying like physically a robot behind home plate, or someone from Secaucus in the NBA?
Wouldn't that slow the game down then? Because then, they'd have
to have like a instant, like because the complaints about baseball is the game's too slow to begin with.
I don't think it would be any slower. I don't know. I think if you just had someone hooked up to a live thing, or even if you had someone sitting front row directly behind the catcher, and you have a monitor and you just immediately click one button or the other button. I think that it absolutely should happen.
Could you imagine a player?
I'm pretty passionate about it.
Just jet to the first row right from the batter's box.
Hit the monitor with the bat.
All right, boys. Let's get into tonight's game in the final couple minutes of today's show. It is Zach Wheeler on the mound versus David Peterson. We know what the Phillies did against David Peterson. Me and Mark were there in person for it, and Mark was spot on with his call that day. It's kind of the game we've been waiting for, right? He was supposed to pitch the first game against the Phillies, and we were like, all right, let's get on Peterson early. Let's take him out, and let's win that ball game. We've been waiting for this matchup. You get your second starter and a guy who is one of your better starters with Aaron Nola on this in the 5-man rotation. Zach Wheeler on the bump. He didn't have his best stuff last time, so hopefully he can come back out and produce somewhat like he did in the second game of the season. Not saying he's going to go 8 innings, 1 hit. But guys, predictions for tonight. As Mark said, Mickey Moniak has been called up. Hazley is away from the team for the time being. But Moniak.
I'm sorry. Who's playing shortstop tonight?
Torreyes, and I was going to guarantee he hits a home run tonight. So I was going to guarantee that he does. I had the line. Here's the lineup for you guys today. So there's the start, and there's the pitching matchup. The lineup is Kutch, Hoskins, Harper, JT, Baum, Segura, Torreyes, Quinn, Wheeler. Guys, it is Alec Boehm. It's a joke. Hopefully you picked up on that by watching the Daily Dose every day like you should be at this time. Thoughts on the lineup, Mark? Thoughts on your boy Didi being the first middle infielder with a day off instead of Jimmy Siggs?
Yeah, I think it's just he's a little older, coming off of an injury 2 years ago, I guess. But I don't think Didi really needed a day off unless maybe he went there and said, "Give me a day off." Which, if that's the case, then you give him a day off. But coming off of 2 losses off a doubleheader and what I view as kind of a must-win. It is kind of it's unfortunate that we're without Didi, but glass half full, glass half empty is kind of my theme today. Glass half empty, going 6-6 after we were 5-1 or after we were 6-3 feels terrible. Glass half full,
7-5 feels nice.
Going 7-5 or 6-6 after 12 games against the Mets and the Braves at the beginning of the year would have sounded absolutely fine. But when you get 5-1, it's tough to accept that. I
agree. So you're going win tonight.
Yeah, just to give away a pick from the Tough Cover podcast, and I'm not as confident anymore without Didi in the lineup, but I'm going Phillies over 4 runs tonight. I think that they're going to hit with runners in scoring position tonight. Dylan Peterson absolutely shelled in his last 2 starts against the Phillies last year in September, and then at the game me and Dylan were at where he went, gave up 6 runs, 7 hits, 2 homers, 2 walks in 4 innings. Then the Phillies have scored at least 4 runs in 7 of 11 games this year. So even while the hitting has been lackluster, it's still at least 4 runs in 7 of the 11 games, and the total is 4. They rake left-handed pitching. We're one of the gaps between our OPS from righties to lefties is one of the biggest in the majors. So we really do have a bigger advantage against lefties than most. And then more specifically, as I said already, we rake Dylan Peterson. Rhys Hoskins in 5 at-bats has 2 homers and 2 doubles against Dylan Peterson on his career. Bryce Harper is 4 for 5, 2 doubles and a homer. Or 3 for 5, 2 doubles and a homer against Peterson. JT hit a homer, or JT hit a double last game against him. Boom, hit a real deep homer, a bomb, an absolute Alec bomb to left center. So I think that the bats wake up today. I think we put a couple out of the park. The apple will be going up and down. No, I don't think they do that for the opponent, but I think that the Phillies put some on the board. Hopefully Wheeler has a good start. Hopefully he's more like that first start than the second start. Not that the second start was a catastrophe or anything, but hopefully Wheeler has a good start against his former team. He hasn't had that much success against them last year, but Wheeler had not had that many back-to-back bad starts last year, so hopefully he picks it up, has a good start tonight, and I think the bats will come through no matter what, even if he has an average start.
Again.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the win, too. Not going to spend too much time talking about it, but I do think they're going to win. Good teams don't get swept, so Phillies will be 7-5 after tonight. That's
a shot at the Atlanta Braves, by the way. Good teams don't get swept, and they are in a threat of getting swept by the Miami Marlins now, as they lost again last night. So that's glass half full, right, Mark? Scoreboard watching 11 games in. I love it. I as well. I'm going to go win. Hopefully, I mean, I know they're still going to platoon with Moniak and Roman Quinn, but this is just this is the last game I have to see Roman Quinn as consistently in center field. I think Zach Wheeler brings his A game today on the bump. I'm going to say Zach Wheeler goes between 6 and 7, 6 and 2/3. Maybe he gets to 7. I'm not sure. And I agree. I think the bats wake up, especially against David Peterson. Just get to the Mets bullpen early again and do what you guys do. Find a way to win on the road. I know it's going to be a rough start on the road, regardless, win or lose, but just don't get swept like Ginn said. It's a very important game. 7-5 feels a lot better than 6-6. Phillies win. I'm going to call it 6-2 or 3. I'm going to go 6-3 tonight for the Titans. So before we wrap up tonight, you can follow me on Twitter at DylanJD98. Give my man Mark a follow at MarkHenry Jr. _ and go catch him on a Tough Cover Pod right after this, and follow again on Twitter at Matt_McGinty. Guys, really quickly, I forgot to play it in the beginning. Here's a message and a word from our sponsors at XL Media before we wrap up tonight.
Hey, what's up, guys? March Madness is here. The NBA and NHL are both in full swing. Baseball opening day is coming up, while we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports. We are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup in on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check